Good day everyone, I am John Willard Montero Kalimbo, taking up the Bachelor of Science in Office Administration. So today, we're going to discuss what is multicultural context. But before that, let me introduce you my fellow groupmates, Joyce Caramansana, Charis Dilhero, and Alice Canuday. So what is multicultural context? Multicultural context is a concentration focused on the dynamics of communication across cultures. It explores not only what happens when people from two different cultures meet, but also what happens when people from a variety of cultures and ethnicities come together in organization, community, or country. Multicultural context is a kind of communication which is how people approach to others and how people communicate without gender bias, how people give equal attention across different kinds of ethnicities and cultures. The goal of multicultural and education is to help students understand and appreciate cultures' differences and similarities, to recognize the accomplishment of the diverse ethnic, racial, and socioeconomic groups. Actually, multicultural context is very important in education, especially to the students to educate how to appreciate to the differences and similarities of different cultures and approach how to approach properly.
So let's proceed to the difference between multicultural, cross-cultural, and intercultural. Multicultural refers to a society that contains several cultural or ethnic groups. Contains different cultural ang multicultural. For example, an honors classroom with students from several different countries and who speak different languages, and that is multicultural. So, in cross-cultural, deals with the comparison of different culture, comparing or dealing with two or more different cultures. In intercultural, describes communities in which there is a deep understanding and respect for all cultures. Intercultural have engaging interaction with each other. So the difference between the three cultural in multicultural contains a different culture. In cross-cultural comparison of the two culture, in intercultural is have an engaging interaction with each other, and that is the difference between the three cultural.
General guidelines for communicating in multicultural context. Avoid asking inappropriate or personal questions. So, dapat atong i-avoid ang mga inappropriate nga mga pangutana ng mga personal nga mga questions. Kay naa mga tao nga murag sensitive kay sila ba nga pangutanon nilang personal life. So, dapat natong i-avoid siya. Avoid stereotyping or generalizing certain groups or keep an open mind and flexible. Avoid using jargons, which highfalutin terms, technical terms, acronyms, and gender-biased language. So, dapat kanang i-avoid nato ni siya kanang mga words or mga sinultian kay naamang gi kanang uban tao nga murag dili maglisod sila sabot nga ina nga mga words. Then naapay uban tao nga murag dili hanas nga kanang makikuan. Dapat kung makikistorya ta sa tao kanang masabtan ra bitaw, masabtan o fluent nga dali ra dayon makasabot ang imong kaistorya. So next is be sensitive, polite, thankful, respectful at all times, particularly in relation to cultural practices, attitudes, and beliefs. Learn and understand the value of diversity. Despite nga lahi-lahi tang o kanang mga beliefs and cultural practices, irespeto gihapon nato ang kanang ang ilahang kuan kanang beliefs or cultural practices. Anya, dapat magkahiusa gihapon ta. Gusto nyo lahi ta ninyo. Next is develop intercultural communication skills. So, kung makig-communicate ta, is kanang dapat i-apply na to ang atong intercultural practices or dapat kanang kung sa iyang idea, dapat atong i-respect ug i-understand. Eliminate gender-biased word or sexist language, particular in writing. Refers to the way and how to avoid gender-biased language listed in the succeeding section. So, pareha sa giingon ni Ms. Kanuday nga katong instead nga chairman, ang dapat ang gamito nato is kanang chairperson kay aron dili ta aron ma-avoid ang gender bias. Okay, kung chairman mo gid atong gamiton ra is wala ka na nagkuan ra ka sa isa ka particular nga but kanang dapat ang sakto ganiya is kanang chairperson kay aron mag-generalize na ba nga kana siya pwede na siya sa lalaki, nagkuan na siya sa lalaki or babae. So next is, in case you did not get the message conveyed by the person you are communicating with, request him or her to repeat the message or simplify it. So, of course, kung wala ka kasabot sa iyang giingon, pwede nimo siya ingon nga ipa-repeat iyang question para masabtan nimo. Kanang makasabot ka sa iyang kanang message nga sa iyang kanang ipasabot. Learn and observe physical distance or space in dealing with other people. In some cultures, shaking hands and hugging may not be appropriate. So, kita dapat observance sa kaayo. Kay naamay yung giuban nga murag sensitive kaayo sila, dili sila ganahan og dikidikitan, istoryahan or sa panagara. At kung makig-interact man ganit ta sa tao or atong is dapat kabalota kung asan tataman. Then naapoy kanang uban culture nga murag dili murag bawal sa ilha ang kanang shaking hands and hugging. Listen attentively when others are speaking. So of course, kabalo naman taani, kung naamang gani magistorya is dapat ka nang maminaw bitaw ta nang dili ta ka nang magbanha ba, dapat ang atong atensyon dapat i-focus sa iya ha kay aron makasabot ta sa ihang istorya or iyang pasabot sa atoa.
This is the continuing of general guidelines for communicating in multicultural context. So, observe patience and listening to other people's ideas which may not be the same as yours. Pay attention to your nonverbal communication, learn nonverbal cues of other cultures, respect a person's right to confidentiality and privacy, show consideration, speak gently and politely, never shout to be understood, stay calm, cool, and composed when you make a mistake or feel embraced by others. Culturally, others do not mean to embrace you. Make positive interpretation of the action and words of other peoples. When you feel strange or uncomfortable about something being communicated by other people, request them to clarify their meanings and intention before you express your emotion and ideas. That's all.
So, in gender bias and sexist language, so when we say sexist language is the language that excludes either men or women when discussing a topic that is applicable to both sexes. For example, instead of using chairman, use chairperson. Instead of using salesman, use salesperson. Congressman, use legislator. Spokesman, use spokesperson. Policeman, use police officer. And that is the example of the sexist language.
This topic is ways to avoid gender bias language. So, in terms of language, mauni ang mga ways para dili ka mo-appear as someone who is exist. So, sample, A. Substitute gender bias pronouns with articles determiner. Sa Zixis, every employee is entitled to his 13th month pay. Sa non-Zixis, every employee is entitled to 13th month pay. B. Use plural pronouns instead of singular pronouns. Sa Zixis, each employee must submit his proposal next week. Sa non-exist, all employee must submit their proposal next week. So, kintahay, instead of saying each employee must submit his proposal next week, pwede ko moingon og all employee must submit their proposal next week. So, letter C. Use elder or pronouns he, she, or hers. However, avoid putting men first all the time. Sa Zixis, every applicant must fill out his own application form. Sa non-Zixis, every applicant must fill out her own applicant form.
Letter D. Use a second pronouns you or yours over the third person he or she. Be careful not to change the meaning of the statement. Ang example sa Saxias is the sales, you should prepare your marketing proposal for our new product. So, sa non-Saxias ng example is, you should prepare your marketing proposal for our new product. So, letter A. Use appropriate titles. Ang example sa Saxias is, dear sir. Then, sa non-Saxias is, dear sir or madam. Then, sa isa ka example sa non-Saxias is, attention HR manager.